Good morning, everyone. Thank you. So welcome, and thank you for attending my session. It's all about Azure and Azure DevOps in this session. So my name is Firas. I'm Microsoft MVP. I'm here to tell you a few things about Azure and Azure DevOps services. So to start, it's simple. We have two parts. We have Azure DevOps. We have Azure. We see the integration between both platforms. Then we'll see a demo, and maybe we'll finish with Q&A. So to start, what's Azure DevOps and what is DevOps in general? So who worked before with Azure DevOps? Azure? Both? Cool. So, okay. So, I think many people here know what is DevOps. So, DevOps is the union of people, process, and products. And the goal here is to enable continuous delivery to value to our end users. So, who said that? The famous black shirt. It's Donovan Brown. He's the head of DevOps at Microsoft. So he said that DevOps is the union of people, process, and products. So what is Azure DevOps? So Azure DevOps is a set of modern services in order to implement DevOps practices in our projects and solutions. So some of the services are Azure Boards, Repos, Pipelines, Test Plans, and Artifacts. To start with the Azure Boards. Azure Boards is a service that lets us connect from idea to release. So we'll start with the board. We start with fixing our tasks, our features, our epics. It depends on our solution. It's a Scrum-ready service. It supports Agile in general. It supports Scrum. It supports CMMI for quality products. And we can also customize it to adapt it to our process. And also we can have our dashboards and our project insights. The second is Azure Repos. Azure Repos lets us host our code. It's a private Git repo with unlimited projects and support, so for Git and TFVC. So works with Git client. It supports webhooks and API integration, and it's semantic code search that help us search inside our code. The third service is Azure Pipelines. This is the heart of Azure DevOps, or this is the most important service, for me at least, I think for everybody also, is the Azure Pipelines, because here we can have the CI/CD pipelines, and we can have our continuous integration and continuous deployments. Here, we can use the continuous integration, continuous deployment for any language and for any platforms almost. It's extensible, so we can have already many tasks that support many languages and many extensions also that supports many platforms like Azure AWS and others for CD, for CI, .NET Core, JS, JavaScript, etc. And it supports also containers and Kubernetes, and it's so best in class for open source. We can integrate it directly with GitHub or with any other repo. Third one is Azure Test Plans. So there is no project without testing. So Test Plans is here to help us test our solutions, our platforms, before hosting it in the cloud. And finally, the Azure Artifacts. So the enterprise has many projects. Some projects share few other projects or few other artifacts, like we said. And we can host it here in the shared, like a shared folder here, where we can host our libraries and share it with everyone in our enterprise. And also, so for Azure DevOps, like I said, it's extensible, so we can use it with many other platforms. So it's not only Microsoft products, but we can use it with Jenkins, Terraform, Puppet, Chef, Azure, of course, and many, many other services. So what we'll try to do today is that we'll have a simple project, simple website, and we'll practice we will implement, the DevOps practices on that project from scratch to deployment on Azure. So the first one is that we have our code for developers and code for ops. When I said code for developers, we all know that. And when we say code for ops, it's what? Infrastructure as code. Yeah, that's right. So we'll push it to the repos, the first service. Then we'll implement the continuous integration, and we'll have, as a result, a package, an artifact, that we will deploy it on Azure. It's a simple web app. Then we'll add the monitoring via application insights, and the final and one of the important things is the link between application insights or monitoring and dev and the boards. We add work items or bugs directly after analyzing that. So to start, let's start with Azure DevOps. So, and here you said that a lot of people worked with it already. It's a nice thing. So here, I am on the Azure DevOps platform. Who didn't work with Azure DevOps before? This is the first time that you see this. Okay, 15, 20. Okay, cool. So here, first thing first, we need to have what we call an organization. It's free for the groups of 5 people. So for teams of 5 people, and we can create projects for free. We have 2 types of projects. We have the private projects, and we have the public projects. The public projects, let's say it's like GitHub. So here, we need to enter the name. So let's say Ignite the tool demo. We can add a description. We can say it's public or private. And here, we have the version control. It's Git or TFVC. And the work item process, we have the basic, which was added recently. It's a basic where we found epic tasks and bugs. And we have the CMMI for product quality. And we have Scrum, of course, and Agile. So we use the Agile process. And we click on Create. Here, I can create a project in a few seconds, and I will push my code directly to this repo. So here, I have the projects, and I have the different services that I already talked about. So here, we can have dashboards also, to have, for example, my tasks, and also to have some monitoring about our project, the processing, and the progress of our projects. I can have also a wiki and integrate it in our code directly. So we will push our documentation directly to our wiki. And we have also the boards where we can create our work items here. So I can say it's first user story, so user story 1, for example. I created, and in simple drag and drop, I can add it to the current sprint or the sprint 1, and it's already added. Or I can move it to another sprint. And I can add also tasks. So it's simple also. And the state, it's new. We can add the area, we can assign it also to one of the group members. The second one is the repos. So here we'll push our code. Here I have a basic solution. I have two folders, app and infrastructure. The app is the website. I will show you that locally. And the second is a JSON, and we'll talk about it in the Azure part. So let's run this web app locally. So here is simple web app where we have 3 slides about Ignite tour, of course. So Amsterdam, Dubai, and Stockholm. And I want, instead of having this locally, I will have on Azure, and I will implement the DevOps practices. First thing first is to push it. So if you're working with Visual Studio, it's simple. Right-click, add solution to source control. Then here, the first push. Here, I can add directly to Azure DevOps or any platform that supports Git. So I'll push it to Azure DevOps. I'm already connected in Visual Studio. Otherwise, you can do it with a command line or with any other IDE or any other program that supports Git. So directly. And here, it will just retrieve the organization that I'm in. And I will select it. So here, Ignite the demo. And we'll push it to this project. So here, account or organization, project, and then the repo also. So here the demo, and I will click on publish repository, and in few seconds, 3, 2, 1, and our code is on Azure Repo. Let's refresh. And here we can see our files and our solution pushed to Azure DevOps. Now I can add commits, I can add pull request, I can add many branches here. I can work like I work in any other platform that supports Git. So here, new branch, new repo, many things. And the most important thing here is Azure Pipelines. Here, in Azure Pipelines, we have 2 things. We have the CI and we have the CD, the continuous integration and the continuous deployment. The continuous integration here is shown as builds. The continuous deployment here is shown as release. So here, I'm in build. Can you all see it? The back? It's OK? Cool. Thank you. So here, we'll click on New Pipeline. And here, we have 2 options. In fact, some of the features in Azure DevOps are in preview. So we can activate it and deactivate it, and we can use it for experimentation. So here, how to activate it. Under the account here, I have preview features. And I can activate it and deactivate it. One of the features that I already activated, is the new YAML pipeline where I can use the YAML files to define my pipelines. And after activating that, I have this one, the new pipeline. When I click here, in fact, this pipeline, we need to have the repo, so a link with the repo. In our case, we already push our code to an Azure repo, an Azure DevOps repo here, or we can use GitHub, GitHub Enterprise, or any other platform that supports Git, because we select Git here at first. I can click Azure here, Ignite the tour demo. Which tasks should I use? So there is some tasks that are predefined here, and I can create my tasks. So it supports many, many languages. Like I said, the ASP.NET Core, Xamarin, and NPM, Android, iOS, Go. So almost any language that exists nowadays, we can deal with it here in the build. At worst, we can use the command line, install packages, because at the end, it's a machine that is hosted in Azure DevOps servers, and you can install the package and run my command. So here, I select ASP.NET Core, and here I have my YAML file where I can define the steps. Some people said that this is somehow difficult. Is there any other solution that is easier? Yeah, there is another solution, which is the Visual Designer. So I click on New Pipeline, and here, click on Use the Visual Designer. And the source, so Azure Repos, GitHub, Bitbucket, or external Git, the default repo. And here, I'll click on Continue. And I can select YAML, or I will select directly search for core, and here, ASP.NET Core, and apply. So here are the basic steps to build an ASP.NET Core project or .NET Core project in general. And at the end, we have the publish artifact where we can build and we create our package that can be hosted directly at any server. So here, we have the restore, build, test, and publish. We can remove test, we don't have, but no problem with it. And they can click on save here. And I have my pipeline. I will just rename it here, .ci, and click on save. Now this is the integration. I will just make it continuous. I will go to triggers and enable continuous integration and save it. And now when I make any modification in our code, it will trigger the build and create the package. So here, our build is ready, and we can see it here, and even we can queue it manually for the first time, for example. And we'll see it running. So here, it will be run. Who worked with the Azure Pipelines on the build section here? Okay, I'll tell people. So if there is anything that's not clear, you can just tell me. So it's an interactive session, no worries. Any question? No? Cool. Okay, so. Yeah, sorry. Okay, here I can see that a build is launched, and the build is launched with the first push, which add project files. And we can see here the details. So it's initializing an agent, initializing the job, getting the files for checkout, and then it will launch the steps that we created before, which are build, test, publish, and then we'll publish the artifact. So here, as a result here, we will have a zip package that will push it to a folder shared with the next step, which is the release or the continuous deployment. So here, we can wait a little bit here for the build. And then we'll go to the release. So here, it's almost done. Takes a few seconds. It's a small project, no worries. This is the question?
Yeah, that's
Yeah, in fact here, in the build, we can add include and exclude further. So for example, I have ignite tour dot project one, ignite tour dot project two. I will say include project two only, the changes made on project one, for example, or changes made on project two, and I will create 2, 3, or and pipelines. So we can do it. Welcome. So here, it's done. It's green, and we can check our artifact, and we call the drop here, and we have this folder, and we have this zip file. This zip file, we can get it and deploy it in any server, even manually. So, but what we want to do is use also, like we use the continuous integration, use the continuous deployment, so that when a build finish, we will launch the release section and we'll deploy our package to Microsoft Azure. So here we'll go to the next section, which is release, and we'll create a new release pipeline here. And here we have what we called environment or stages. So when developing a project, we have multiple environments, minimum, dev, and production, or we can have dev, stage, production, etc. And here we can add many tasks. So here, the basic things is the artifact. So here is the link with the build that we launched before and we created before. So first thing first, I will add that link with the build. So here is the project. So here, the project, then the source or the build. Here we have one build. So I can select this build. For many projects, I can select another build. I can create another pipeline also. So here, and I will get the latest version. And it's just an alias, and I will click on it. Now, we just created the link between the CI and the CD, between the build and the release services here. And I can schedule this release, this deployment every day, every night, every week. Or I will just say, when I get a new build, just deploy this package to Azure. So I click on enable it. Or if we use based on pull request, I can do it also. So here, now we have the continuous deployment activated. Second thing is the stages. Here, we can have as many stages, as many environments as we want. So I'll create just one, and I call it prod. And here, it's an empty job. I will call it prod. And here we have our environment. Till now, we have nothing inside this. So I'll click on task and job. And here, I can have many agents. So sometimes I have many projects with many languages. So we have many agents. One that supports, that is based on Windows. The other is based on Ubuntu or Linux. So it depends. Here, no worries for me since I'm using .NET Core, which is cross-platform, support anywhere. And I can click on Add Task. And here, we can add many tasks. And here, in the Deploy section, we have a list of tasks. The basic tasks are linked all to Azure. Otherwise, I can install many extensions on the gallery, and we can deploy to Azure, AWS, or anywhere. So in our case, it's Azure. So here I will click on Azure App Service, deploy, and I will deploy it to or web app. So before going to this step and completing it, we'll go back to the presentation. We'll see what's Azure and how to work with it, and what are the most things that we need to get it before going with the deployment and the release. What's Microsoft Azure? So here, many people worked already with Microsoft Azure. So Microsoft Azure simply is the cloud platform of Microsoft, where we can find a list of services. So we have IaaS and PaaS, we have infrastructure as code, infrastructure as service, and platform as services. In the infrastructure, we have wide of services, compute, storage, networking. We can have our infrastructure there, or we can use simply the platform, and it's very rich. We can have web, mobile, notifications, data. We can also make hybrid cloud with Azure, with, for example, with our infrastructure already, or we can use also Microsoft Azure stack, which is the on-premises or the private cloud. It's like Azure with the same UI and with fluid integration between the two platforms here. So in our case, we'll be using the web and mobile section here, and we'll use a web app, and we'll create a web app directly, and then we'll integrate it with Azure DevOps. So the most important thing about Azure is the Azure Resource Manager. When we say cloud, we say services, and we need to manage those services. So we can manage those services manually, create it from the ported directory, or use the infrastructure as code. But before doing that, we need to see some few definitions. So the Azure Resource Manager is the consistent management layer that helps us create resources and define resources in the cloud platform, see components that's related and independent, deploy, manage, and monitor all those services. And it provides also security auditing, logging, and everything related to governance with the Azure governance services. So first thing first is the resource. So every service in Azure is called a resource. So like web apps for websites, like mobile apps for mobiles, like database, like VM, virtual machines, etc. Second thing is the resource group. The resource group simply is like the folder for services in Azure. We can create many services under a resource group. So here, for example, an example of three resource group, separate resource group with many services inside, and all the resource group are under a subscription. So we have an Azure subscription, Azure resource group, then the resources or the services. And we have also the resource provider. This we'll use it, and we need this to create the infrastructure as code, since it defines the ID, or what we call the resource provider of our sources. Examples of the resource of the providers are Microsoft Compute for VMs, Microsoft Storage for storage accounts, Microsoft Web, what we will use for web apps, for example. And finally, all these are integrated under the Azure Resource Manager templates, or what we call ARM templates, and is the definition of the infrastructure as code for Azure. So infrastructure as code for Azure is with the ARM templates, with the Azure Resource Manager templates. It's a JSON file that defines all the resources to deploy to a specific resource group. Example of the Azure Resource Manager template is here. So here you can see the type or the Azure Resource Provider, which is storage, and the name of the service or the type of the service, which is storage accounts. And here we have also the location, SKU, kind, etc. So we'll do small demo on Azure. Quick demo here. So to access Azure, it's portal.azure.com. And we can have many subscriptions here. And under the subscription, for example, under my subscription, I will create a resource group. And under that resource group, I will create services. In our case, it will be 2. So the plan or the app service plan and the web app inside it. So here, just click create resource. And we can create the web app here. So by searching or by selecting the type or the category. And here I create it manually. So ignite demo Amsterdam. And we'll create a new. So here, the web app supports in Azure Windows and Linux, and we can publish code directly or via Docker images. And we can have also application insights that will be monitoring our website. I will click create. And here it will provision a new service or a new resource in Azure. It will create a new Azure resource group with the service inside. So here we can see the deployment progress. And here we can see that it created the resource provider Microsoft Insights. And it will create the web app. This is the simplest way to create services. But in our case, we are using Azure DevOps, and we want to make it all automatically deployed and also created. So what we'll do is we'll create the same thing, so a basic web app with the ARM template. So here, in our code, I've already did that. So here, using Visual Studio, so here, I need to see that. Okay. Okay. So no worries. Here, in fact, I defined all my resources. So what we call here resources or services. And inside, I have the plan name or the machine that I will create it to host my web app. And here, I have my web app. And I'm using variables and parameters that will add it inside Azure DevOps directly. Here, we can have, for example, databases also, and we can have connection strings or what we call secrets. So secrets, sometimes we can add it via Azure DevOps directly, or we can use also an Azure service which is called Azure Key Vault here to store our connection strings. So here, for example, I created this resource group. For security, and I added the Azure Key Vault to add our connection strings. So here, for example, in secrets, I've already added the server admin login password, and we can add certificate, we can add other secrets and keys. So what I want to do here is create the infrastructure in Azure directly from Azure DevOps and automatically. And even if there will be an update, I will do it in the code directly. And like that, I can have the versioning of our infrastructure on Azure DevOps on this file. So here, going back to Azure DevOps, I will not do this one. I will create another task in the deploy, which is Azure Resource Group deployment. Here, I can deploy the infrastructure directly to Azure, or the first thing I need to do is to validate that template. It's a JSON file. Like we validate our code, we tested our code, we need also to validate our infrastructure files. So here, I need to select the subscription, but here, in this project, I don't have any subscription. But here, I have the subscription that are linked to my account. In Enterprise, there is a team dedicated for that, and only the ops or the infrastructure team has access to that. So what we do is just define this in the Azure DevOps service connections, and we'll add the link between Azure DevOps and Azure. So the authorization that let Azure DevOps deploy directly to Azure. Here, I will select Azure Resource Manager, and I will call it Azure, here, for example, subscription level, and I will select my subscription that I want to deploy my package to it. I will select this one, and I will select also the resource group, and I need to authenticate and authorize Azure DevOps to access to Azure. So security check. Cool. And now I will just add the access to one of, so okay, so I can add one of these resource groups. What I will do is I will create another resource group on Azure. I didn't do that. So here, I'll create an empty resource group and give access to this resource group. I will call it West Europe Tour Demo Resource Group, and it's deployed in West Europe. So here, I created the folder or the resource group where I will deploy my resources there. So it's quick. I created the resource group, and here, go back to Azure, and I think we need to refresh. So, okay. Sorry, but it's bugging. Okay, so I will add it. Azure subscription level, and give it the authorization. And here, cool. I will add this resource group. So now I give access Azure DevOps to deploy to Azure to this specific resource group. And here I will say, click on refresh, and now we'll see the resource group that give access to, and the subscription here, the Azure subscription. And we'll say here, the action. So here, we can create or update the resource group, or delete a resource group, restart a virtual machine, and do a lot of things to Azure directly. The resource group is the default one that we created. The location is already West Europe. Sorry for the bug. Okay. Yeah, so sometimes just need to wait. Okay. Please. Okay. Sorry. So it just recovered the page. Don't know why, but today it's like that. Sometimes just like that. So it's simple. It's quick steps. So don't worry. We'll do it quickly. And what we'll do, the first thing, we'll validate our JSON file or our ARM templates before deploying it to Azure. If Azure DevOps, okay, so because I didn't save it, which is a bad practice here, I need to do it quickly, add the continuous deployment and add stage. Okay, empty job, production, and we'll add we'll save it like that. So at least we have release created. And we'll add the task, the resource group deployment here. And we'll call it here ARM template, or let's say validate ARM template. Here we already added the Azure subscription, the resource group, and here we'll say West Europe, please. Yeah, I think. Okay. No. Yeah, it's better. Okay. So it didn't. Okay. Just we'll see another project. Because this one, okay, please. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Azure DevOps. So here, we'll add our template. And here, we need to find our template. But here, we don't find the template. Why? Okay, so the first thing that we did is the build pipeline. So we publish our artifacts. We take the package and put it in a folder shared with the release pipeline. But we didn't get the infrastructure or the JSON file and put it in that folder, in the shared folder with the release pipeline. So first thing to do is going to the build, and here, edit. And we need to add the step to publish the infrastructure. It's like this one. So I will just clone it. And here, publish artifact infrastructure. And here, I will not publish the result of the steps before done on the project, on the .NET project, but I will just publish directly the file that I created here, Azure deploy.json. And I'll put it on a folder called infrastructure. And I'll say save and queue. And here you can see that in this agent, we used we used an Ubuntu machine since ASP.NET Core is a cross-platform language. So here, it's queued. And we can see here the step, publish artifact infrastructure, and then we'll find it in the release pipeline, and we'll say that we'll use this template to deploy it to Azure. Okay. Questions? No questions? Cool. Okay. So just wait a few seconds. So what we'll be doing is just validating the ARM templates, deploying the ARM templates to Azure, then taking the package that we'll have here, the artifact, and publishing it also and deploying it, to Azure via the release pipeline. So here, okay, we'll wait a little bit. And here, going back, we have only one folder, which is drop, the default folder where we added our zip package. We'll have another folder called infrastructure where we'll have our JSON file. So here, it's in progress. Okay, build. Please do it fast. Okay. So, yes?
Can you upload the artifact manually?
Upload it where?
For the release.
Not manually, via the build directly.
Yeah, but is there any option to upload it manually?
No, because in fact it's taking the artifact from the folder. It's in Azure DevOps directly. But what we can do is in the build we will have our custom machine. It's not the machine deployed on Azure. Like that, for example, we can use any machine, or we can use, for example, Jenkins for the CI, and I'll have our package. But for the release, we can say we can put it via Jenkins, but via Azure DevOps, it's automatically. But we can get that artifact. Yeah, but we cannot do it directly uploaded from the, you say uploaded from the release. Yeah, no. Manually we can't, but we can link it to outside. Okay, so here we have this artifact, and here you can see that we have two folders. Let's check in the release pipeline, and we'll see here. Yes, we have the two folders here, drop and infrastructure, and here we have the Azure deploy JSON, and we click on OK. And here we have the template, and in the template we had parameters, so we can check here in the file. We had two parameters, the plan name and the plan SKU name. So we can add it directly here in the variables. Here we can say plan name, and we can say the tour, for example, here, tour plan. And we can use it directly in the pipeline. Here, we say that it's plan name, the name of the parameters, and the name of the variable that I just created on Azure Pipelines, $, and plan name is the same name here. And we have also, make it fast, the plan SKU name, same here. And this is an example of parameters that we can add it directly here. But here I will use S1. And here, if in this example we don't have connection string, but if I had the connection string. It's a secret. So it's not shared. We can't share it with anyone on the release or on Azure DevOps. So we need to save it somewhere in the security folder or security service. So here we can do it like that. So we suppose that the plan name is secret. It's not real, but let's suppose that. And what we'll use is we're going back to Azure. So this is another integration between Azure and Azure DevOps. And we'll use the key vault to store our secrets. So here, in the Azure resource group, in the security, I will say vault. Here, the secret. Like here, the admin password, I will add the plan name, for example. I will say it's the tour plan. And here, I will create. And I will say is the plan SKU name also. Say S1. OK. We don't use it for this type, but we use it for secrets. But just to show you how to deal with it. So I can use it. I can't use it here. So, and I can use another cool service in Azure DevOps, which is the variable group. So I will delete this. And I will say I will use variable groups. Variable groups here, it let us create groups of variables and shared with the releases. And there is a very important option. It's a cool option here. I call it vaults, for example. Oh, sorry. Vaults. Sorry. OK. OK. Great. So here, and here, we have an important option, which is called link secrets to an Azure key vault as variables. So here, we can import the variables that we stored in Azure directly here. And you click OK. And here, the subscription is the same as in the pipelines. And just for information, I just clicked on the link, but it's under pipelines, under service pipelines here in library. They will say Azure. And here, he said that I can't find the key vault. Why?
It's a different resource group.
Exactly. It's in a different resource group. So I will add also, for security reasons, an access just for that. OK, here. I will say Azure Security, this one. And I'll select the same subscription. And the resource group, now, it's the security group, the resource group. Here, we have that. We can do it. And here, security. OK. And it's, I hope, set successfully. Let's wait and see. Yes, it's added. And here, I refresh. Select the Azure Security subscription, access to the resource group security. And here, and the key vault name, now I can see the key vault that is created under the security group. And I need also to authorize it, because access to key vault, it's not like the other services. We need to add permissions or policies access to users. Okay, so we need to deploy it in 4 minutes. We'll do it. Prove. And now, I hope, finally, we'll have access to our key vault and to our variables. And we'll use the variables directly from the group here, from the variable group. And we can't see the value of those variables. This is the most important thing. And here, I need to select the variables. I will select just the plan name and SKU name, and I will click on Save. Now, we have the build, the release, under the release, and just for information, the resource group is shared with the build and the release, with all the pipeline servers. And here, going back to the release, yeah, I'm already here. So, link variables, and here we call it vaults and link. And here, it's added automatically. Now we have those variables, and we can use it directly in our release, which is very important in the case of databases or other connections, or even certificates, for example. So not upload the certificate or other. And here, it's already added, so no worries. It's variables or it's group variables or simple variables. And here, in the deployment mode, I will say not incremental, so I will not create or update. So this task for incremental, it will create the resource group if it's not already created, or add the update the services if it's already created. But for the task is validate, so validation only. Just this task. And the second, we'll say clone. And here, it's deploy. And we'll say here, incremental to deploy. So here, we click save. And those tasks will just create the infrastructure. But what we want to do at first is what? We have the website, and we want to deploy it. Yeah, I want to deploy it directly. So deploy app service. Here, deploy app. And here, it's on Azure. Here, it will tell me that this app does not exist. So what we need to do is, normally, not in this case, because I didn't create it on the JSON file, but normally we create it on the JSON file, we make it as variable, and use this variable here. Okay? So what we'll do, it just created, sorry, but we'll create the release here, but it's not fully automated till now. And here, we'll have the release. So 15, can we have just 2 minutes, please? Can we have 5 minutes? 2.5? Please. Okay, thanks a lot. So we'll just deploy the ARM templates, then we deploy the package. But do not worry, I'll be in the demo station. So this afternoon, so I'll be there all the afternoon. And we can see all the process, and we can demo all the process. And if you have questions also, so I'll be there in the demo station. So just we'll deploy this. But this is the most important thing, and one of the integration is the Azure Key Vault and the infrastructure as code with the Azure ARM template. So here, we can go to the resource group. We can go here to here, resource group. And here, we can see that we created the two resources which are the plan and the web app. And the web app here, we don't have anything here. Go. So here, it's a basic web app in Azure with the famous blue page. And here, I will edit the pipeline. I will add the task to deploy. Add, deploy app. And now we can see it. Please. Yes, we can see it. And can click on save. And we'll create it manually here. So here is the release. And now if I want to make it all the process automatically, so we'll see this. See the app, but we'll have two things in parallel, and we'll update it here. It's in the view, shared. So instead of having here the title, tour app, will add demo, and we'll commit directly from here and update title. And we'll say, so this one, just a second. So deploy ARM template and deploy app. So what we're doing now is just pushing. So in parallel, this is another thing. We'll updating the repo, the code, to update the title, which will trigger the build. So here, it's OK. So we have updated the repo. We'll go to the build, and we'll have a new build. This build was triggered because I updated the title, updated the code. So here is the build. And when this build finishes, it will trigger also the release pipeline that we created. So here, two things in parallel. So here, it said that deployment is OK. And here, let's wait and see. This time it's Azure. Let's wait and see. Yes, and we have our application deployed on Azure. It's not fully automatically deployed the first time. This time we have the Ignite the Tour app. We updated the title. We add the demo to view the automatic process. And we'll see how it works. This is the first one. So here, the update. So update the title. It will create the package and push it directly to Azure. So we'll wait and see. Here for the build. It's Azure, sorry, it's not me. Azure DevOps. So here we have this one. So we'll wait. And so you can start, if you're not using Azure DevOps, you can start now using it. It's free for teams under 5 people. And you have 1,800 minutes of build. So it's free, and you can start using it anytime. And for Azure also, you can start it, and you have $200 credit at first to start it, and then it's like always the pay as you go, or it depends on your subscription. Yes, please.
If you want more than 5, what do you need?
You add user and you pay. So it's simple. In fact, there is it's like subscription. So when you add more users, you pay for more users. So it depends on the number of the users. For example, if you add 1 user, I think it's $6. Yeah. So here, so it takes long, but yeah, that's it. Sorry, and thank you for your attention, and see you at the demo. Thank you.